Shalom, shalom, family. Early Shabbat shalom to everyone. Welcome once again to another Torah lesson, another Tanakh lesson. First and foremost, giving glory to the Most High, King of the universe, Yehudah Zavaot. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Grateful for my life, the life of my family, the life of Yisrael, scattered in the four corners of the earth. And I'm thanking the Most High God for life, things that we take for granted. You know, we always have to be grateful and thankful to the Creator for all those things. Giving due respect to the leadership of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, and that would be my brother, Chief Prince Jediel Ben Yissaskar, thanking the Most High God for his life, praying that the Most High God be with him and his family, thanking the Creator for all the brothers and sisters in the congregation, and I pray that the Creator will continue to bless them all, will bless Israel scattered in the four corners of the earth, and that the Most High will look down upon us and even grant us a blessing, even in the land of our captivities. We haven't been on for a few weeks. My apologies. That's more so on my end than Nasik Zurishaddai. There was a lot of things going on in the last couple of weeks, so we weren't able to kind of click together and get things done. But we're back, hopefully, for the duration, and we won't miss any more weeks. But that's, if any emergencies or anything show up. So I know some of you have been missing us, but we're back. So we're going to move straight ahead, and I'm going to turn it over to one of my teachers, even a person that I consider a mentor, even Nasik Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Feeling great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Time Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and due respect to the platform on the D.C.B. Platform, my spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel, Ben Yissaskar, to the host, Chief Uziel, to the Princess, Chief, the Rabbin, the Kohanim, Marine brothers and sisters, and visitors that might visit the channel. Greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. Also, I'd like to say Adonai Septai Titakupi Yagit Tilateaka, the Lord opened my lips, and my mouth shall declare thy praise. I'd like to first apologize for that long hiatus that I had, due to, different connections here and there. But hopefully I could share some insights. I'm gonna just pick something from the past few sidros, because I'm already pretty much one sidro behind mainstream Israelites, which we probably get together on in the future when they have a double sidro. But right now, I'll let you go back, because we had a lot that's been happening. And so I'm going to just go back, since I didn't complete the book of Vayikra, just a little bit of Leviticus, and highlight some points from different portions that I normally didn't touch on. And first, I did go back to Amor. But those that might study the portion of Amor, that was from Leviticus, the 21st chapter, first verse, going to the 24th chapter, the 23rd verse. But I'm going to focus on one aspect in Amor. Well, a couple of aspects, but I'd like to speak on one aspect, because we noticed that most of the book of Shavuot, most people observe the holiday, the festival of Shavuot, just recently. And I know some people have a difference in account, so I'm gonna speak on that at length a little bit more. But in passing, I like to focus on where it's actually mentioned, because it's such a unique holiday. And in the book of Leviticus and more, You know, when it talk about the priest, it talks about, you know, priests being defiled for certain, not defiling themselves for the dead. And it goes on and talks about the appointed seasons, which is the Passover, as we respectively know, and the feast in the ninth verse of the 23rd chapter. I'd like to just bring this out and more. It says, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and saying to them, when you come into the land which I give you unto you, and you shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And you shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted before you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, which most people translate as rest, the priest shall wave it. And the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a he lamb without blemish, and a burnt offering unto the Lord. All right, so that's one of the early mentions of the day of Shavuot, but they don't call it that. On the 15th verse, it says, and you count unto you from the morrow after the day of rest, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 weeks shall it be completed, even unto the morrow of after the 7th week. You shall number 50 days, and you shall present a new meal offering unto the Lord. And you shall bring out of your dwelling 2 wave loaves, 2 parts of an ephah. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven, for first fruits unto the Lord. All right, now, I don't want to, you know, I'd be remiss if I speak on, I know a lot of customs in various congregations, people bring out, you know, bread, wave loaves and stuff like that. I know that's in a lot of Israelite communities, and you know, whether they follow more of a, you know, what we consider, for lack of a better word, an Israelite doctrine, or they have a rabbinic background in the back of it, and most of the ones that that we call ourselves Israelites or Hebrew Israelites, they have people bringing bread at a particular time. Now, I'm not trying to deter whatever custom you might have in your different places, but I'm trying to share some insight into some of the things that the book might talk about. Now, when we get to the time of the book, time of Shavuot, when they bring the bread, it tends to be, most of us tend to have more of a bake-off than we had when they talk about what the bread should be, how it should be made, what should be made of. We have raisins, we have carrots, we have bananas, you know, we have all kinds of breads where it becomes a bake-off, and all that wasn't part of the process. So it tell you the size, the weight, what kind of bread it's supposed to be, plain bread, you know, with leavening, and it's weighed, and it's at the place where the Creator had called his name to be, calls his name the rest. So during the time, you know, and during the time of the wilderness, when we was traveling 40 years, this process was never done. It was only done in the land when we come into the land. So I just want to bring out the insight now. I'm not trying to change anybody's customs. I just try to share certain insights into, you know, what is being done here in the scriptures. And it tends, and the bread goes to the priest pretty much. So most people be sitting around it and, you know, enjoying the bread that's supposed to be sent to a different location. So those are the factors, knowing how it should be done, and then saying what we're doing is, you know, really being honest to oneself about understanding the scriptures in that sense. So I'm not saying that those that have their members bringing loaves of bread, you know, tell them to stop, and I'm saying for them to continue. All I'm saying is expressing what the Lord would say in reference to the book. And so we could be conscious of what we're doing. And I'll leave that for you to discuss with your various, you know, leaders and teachers in the various congregations that might perform that. I happen to be from a congregation, we never did that coming up. Also, what's unique is that the day of Shavuot is never given a date. Now we have a date in scriptures when we got the Feast of Unleavened Bread and when we sacrifice the Passover. We have days dated, and we have a date for Sukkot, but we don't happen to have a date that's given for Shavuot. And I like to explain some of the things in reference, as we go and then move on in reference to that important feast, holy day, is that when the book is referred to as a holy harvest, and then in a day of the first fruits in the book of Numbers, and in the book of Numbers, for those that might want to use a reference for it, in the book of Numbers, you will find that is mentioned in Numbers the 28th chapter. Let me see if I can find the verse here, where it's actually the 28th chapter, the 26th verse, where it's actually called a day, of the first fruits. So it's a reason why it's referred to a day. There's several reasons, but I'll just give you one particular reason, is that it's based on you counting. Now, why we have a date for Pesach, the sacrifice, and Chag HaMatzah, and we have a date for Sukkot. We even have a date for Yom Kippur. We have a date for Yom Teruah, which some people may refer to as Rosh Hashanah, or and more local terms today. But why we don't have a date for that particular day? And in ancient times, when we had the calendar, because we had this big discussion about calendars in the past, and it comes up periodically, is that our calendar was set on a month-to-month basis. It wasn't written out, calculated until 400 so CE on the Hillel of the second. So that means all that time, 300 on back to even during the time of the temple period, and even before the temple period, all we did was a month-to-month basis calendar. And some months might be 30 days, some months might be 29 days. So now when we call it, a full month or a lacking month, whether a full month being 30 days and a lacking month being 29 days, and we know Rosh Chodesh is 29 and a half days, we're going to have these fractions to deal with. So on a month-to-month basis, now it seemed like the Torah would have said, all right, this will be the date for Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks. But it's based on action and you counting. So that's one thing to consider. And it's also based on the calendar being done on a month-to-month basis. So if they declare, they send out, they couldn't see a new moon, they will extend the month. If they saw a new moon, if they extended 1 month, they might shorten the month. So you might have, a month, 29 days, and a month, 30 days, or you might have 2 months back-to-back 30 days, or you might have 2 months back-to-back 29 days, or you might have a month, 29 days, and another month, 30 days. So when we look at that particular calculation, because it's based on the sighting, and when the authorities of the day declare this is a Rosh Chodesh, because the priest had to do his thing at the time, then Shavuot would fall respectively in the third month, which we call today Sivan or Savan, as some people say. Well, it would fall either the 5th of Sivan, it would fall either the 6th of Sivan, it would fall either the 7th of Sivan. But due to Hillel II calculating the calendar for years, we have it fixed, calculated where it's always going to fall on the 6th of Sivan. But in ancient times, it might be on the 6th, it might be on the 5th, and it might be on the 7th. But the counting was pretty much consistent the way they counted to that particular time. So I just want to share, that's one of the reasons why in the book of Numbers, and I think I'm just going to read that just to support my point in the 20th chapter of the book of Numbers, just briefly, that particular verse. I said it was the 26th verse, the book of Numbers. It says, also in the day of the first fruits, when you bring a new meal offering unto the Lord, in your feast of weeks, you shall have a holy convocation. You should do no matter serve our work. Now that's Numbers 20:26. Why didn't it say what day it was? They just say also in the day, and they call it something. And, you know, they relate it to the first fruit, a new meal offering, and then they call it your feast of Shavuot, which is weeks. So those are some of the points I want to bring out. And besides that, and in the book is always related to the period of time. That's the time when we met and heard God spoke within that particular month, and in the month of Siwan. Some traditions say we know that that revelation took place on the 6th of Siwan on a Friday at Mount Sinai. You know, that's for those either accept or not accept, but most rabbinic traditions would say that. But we know it's in that third month, and we calculate the days, calculating on the story that's given in scriptures. But when we look at that particular time, God spoke all these words. Why are we never told, like any other day? Passover is associated with our Exodus, our deliverance, and it's historical. Sukkot is related to our history, being historical, and it relates to a particular event, which is still Passover. So we figure Passover is spoken of about the Exodus, about Egypt, and we told to remember that all the days of our lives. And then, here it is in Sukkot at the end of the year, we told to dwell in booths as a memorial. God calls it to dwell in booths as a memorial of departure from Egypt. But yet, at my time Torah, during the time of Shavuot, the wheat harvest, when we enter the land, and it's only when we enter the land that this practice would take place, and it's offering the grain of that particular land, then that is where, it's only focused on agriculture and not on remembering the great revelations. And yet it's hinted at in different portions in Deuteronomy about remember the day when you stood, at the foot of Horeb, when God gave that revelation. So you are already told to remember an event, but it don't tell you exactly the details of the event. In Deuteronomy and Moses' discourse in the end of his 40-year journey. So one thing I'm just going to be brief because that's not going to be my topic today, but that's something to consider going forward, is that Torah and the commandments of God should not be a day that you remember and perform and do like a New Year's resolution. But Torah and the commandments of God should be something that you apply to yourself every single day. Just like when you get up and say any prayer, and you get up to eat, or you get up to, do anything on a regular basis, then remembering the commands that the Creator gave us at Mount Sinai should be something that you shouldn't have to be told to remember. It should be something that's already ingrained within the individual. So I'm gonna move on from there, and I want to just bring out something from the Sidra Bahar in the mountain. And since we're talking about Shavuot, which is the Feast of Weeks, so the Sidra Bahar starts from the 25th chapter of Leviticus, and it goes to the 26th chapter, 2nd verse. I just want to bring out one little point there. And in dealing with its opening, and in this particular portion here, when it deals with the opening of the Sidra, it talks about, let me see, before I can go any further into that, let me just back up this and not, might be going a little bit too fast. In the Sidra in Bahar. All right, 21st verse, 21st chapter, excuse me, and the first verse in Bahar. It says, and the Lord spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying to them, when ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow that field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyards, and gather in the produce thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for the land, a Sabbath unto the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. All right, so I just want to stop there. But the focus that I want to bring out right now is that the opening, where it seems out of place, it says, coming from part of the second verse, when you come into the land I give you, then you keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. And then it says 6 years thou shalt sow. Shouldn't it say after 6 years you sow, and then you keep a Sabbath unto the Lord? Why is it just in the reverse order? When it says 6 days thou shalt labor and do all the work, and on the 7th day thou rest and cease from the work. The Lord created earth in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested and ceased from his work. So now this order seems a little different. And it's talking about when we get into land, the first thing you talk about is observing a Sabbath before we even do our work. So what could be the underlying message behind it is that Sabbath or rest is the goal, not the work you put in. Some people, to be able to take off is a luxury. And the luxury is the goal. To be able to say, I'm going to spend time for me, developing me according to my God's will. That's a luxury. When you got to work from end to end without a day off, then that's not a luxury. You become a slave to yourself, to the land. Whereas the Creator letting you know that not only you don't own the land, you pretty much a sojourner in the land belongs to the Creator, but the ultimate goal in all your endeavors is to complete a certain amount of tasks within a week and say, my goal is not to see how many tasks I could do. My goal is to get to a completion of the state in life where I could say, all right, that's enough, because I created enough space to have my time with my Creator. So that's the focus of doing Torah. That's the focus of working the land. The focus is to be able to reach that rest. When you have rest, you can really focus on a man. It's written in the Apocrypha, a laboring man has no time for study. So now, if you're studying or learning, what are you going to be learning about? So that's one of the most important areas in Bahar. And this is told to us at the Mount Sinai. So I'm going to move on to Bekukothai, which is statutes. Some things we understand, some things we don't tend to understand. But I like to bring up the Bekukothai in the sense that the third verse, it says, if you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you your rain and their seasons, and the land shall yield her produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time. And you shall eat your bread until you have enough, and dwell in your land safely. And I will give peace in the land, and shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will cause evil beasts to cease out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. All right. So some people would think being poor, being impoverished is a good thing, living a monastic life. The Creator don't have anything against wealth, accomplishments, being fruitful, have anything about luxury. He's not against that. But you earn it in a proper manner. That's what it was. And it said, if you earn it in a proper manner, the Creator promised us physical, not just spiritual. See, most people, when they get into religion, they look for a spiritual wealth. The Creator doesn't always just promise us spiritual wealth. He promised us a physical wealth, and he starts off with the place where we at, on the land, or down on earth. A lot of people say, I'm in the world, but not of the world. Well, in this world is where we earn our points with the Creator. And it goes even further and says, in the 8th verse, and 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall chase 10,000, and your enemy shall fall before you by the sword. All right. Now, and I will have respect unto you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and will establish my covenant with you. All right. Now, when we look at some of the stuff in, and this is in some of the statutes. Some things, I'm doing things with the Creator that I really don't understand. But doing them, I'm doing them because I love him, and that's his will, and I want to please him the best way I can. I really don't understand what I'm doing. I really don't have a clue, but I know this much, that he want me to do that. What for? Doesn't matter. When we was at Mount Sinai, Exodus 24:7, it says, Nasik wa nishma. We will do and we will hear. It was just the opposite. Why would we do and then hear? We would do because the Creator said it, and we know and trust him that he has our good in mind. And we will hear, that means we will learn about it later from doing it, because it's not now I got to understand what you're talking about before me to perform for you when it comes from your God. Because you did enough for me before I even knew you. So therefore, because you say this, I'm going to do that. So now as we go a little further and look into it, when it says 100 should chase 1,000, 5 of you should chase 100, and 100 of you should chase 10,000. Now, if 5 chase 100, then 100 should be chasing 2,000. All right, not 10,000, 2,000. But when more people are aligned on the same endeavor, whether good or bad, but we're looking for good, it's gonna multiply stronger your strength. And therefore, that the more of us that's together on the same, as we say in the old days, same sheet of music, in agreement with a lot of things, and we moving in the same direction and working for the same cause, the more of us align to that, we become much more powerful than the few. That's why it says, the ratio is so much different when you have more people aligned as opposed to a few people aligned. So we're gonna move on from there, and we know that will pretty much ends with besides vowels and types, that would end the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, and then only say be strong and let every one of us make another one strong, each one of us strong. So now we're going to the book of Numbers, which is the 4th book of the CHOKMAH. And the book of Numbers is, originally referred to the, CHOKMAH HaPekudim, which is the 5th book of counties. And people was numbered so many ways in the book of Numbers, but it's translated from the and used commonly from where all this action took place in the wilderness. But I like to bring out certain openings within here, within the book of Numbers. And then I will just touch on a couple of things in Nasso. Then I go to the Haftarah for the book of Judges. Now, as we look in the opening of the book of Numbers, 1st chapter, it said, and the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tent of meeting, on the 1st day of the 2nd month, in the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take ye the sons of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their families, by their father's house, according to the number of names, every male by their polls, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. You shall number them by their hosts, even thou and Aaron, and with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of his father's house. And these are the names of the men that shall stand with you. And then it goes on with and listen to all the names of the men that assembled. Now, this is on Rosh Chodesh. Why I want to focus on just that opening, besides, and just touch on it, is that it says a lot in it. What it tells us that when this numbering first took place, now we know we was numbered when we came out of Egypt. I tell you about how many men came out of Egypt, by their armies or by their hosts, 600,000 at the Exodus. So we know that number already. Why now they're going to be more particular, about analyzing who from what tribe? Are you authentic? Are you bona fide? Are you really part of the household? Are you a Ben Yehudah? Are you a Ben Yissaschar? Are you a Ben Zebulon? Are you a Ben, a Dan, a Ben Gad? Ben, any other tribe, Ben Yosef, Ben Benjamin, anybody, if you're from one of them tribes, we're gonna need to find out your pedigree. Are you legit? Because a lot of people, especially these days and time, that speaks volume for us as Israelites that come in knowledge of ourselves as a first generation, and they say, okay, I go to Deuteronomy 28, and that seems like that fit me. So, but here, they was in captivity for a couple hundred years in the land. Was in the land of Egypt for a couple hundred years, and they had some oppression for about, basically about 100 years and some 100 years plus. And it was about, who are you? Do you know your roots? And then what's is important is say, I need this age group. I'm not even concerned about the 19 down. It's only the 20 and upward. And then the other criteria is that, are they able to go to war? Can they fight for the Lord of hosts? Are you man enough to be God's emissary, to be able to be be on a mission for God? Are you man enough for that? So that, and it said, and you got to have some historical background. You got to have some pedigree. And then what's even more I find fascinating in this particular portion is that it tell you the second year, the second month on a Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month. We know the month prior, the tabernacle was erected. So if the tabernacle was erected, that means it was a year out of Egypt, and they had the dedication of the 12 princes. They're making a dedication to the Creator on the day. So that means that the sequence in the book of Numbers is not going to be the same. But so much for that for going forward, to pay attention to it as we go further in the book of Numbers. But that meant that the Creator wanted to hurry up after the Mishkan was erected, after the dedication was over, after we had a brief period of time, even before this Pesach Sheni, the second Pesach, get these guys together, start counting them down, get my army in order, because we got a conquest to do, and I want to hurry up and get them in the land. But what happened is, we messed up later on, but that's besides the point. But that's why it's important to pay attention to the date, that this is the second month that we're getting our armies together according to God's command. And then Moses and Aaron, and then each one from the tribe, you could say, why I need a leader from the tribe? To say, do you really belong in this house? Do you belong in this tribe? This ain't one of my people. And take one of the people that's a bona fide person to say, this is not one of my people. This don't belong to my family. So that's just something I want to, pass on and passing and there. So, and we noticed that the tribes already stationed in certain positions. They was numbered a certain way. And you had 3 camps and 3 tribes in the east, 3 tribes in the south, 3 tribes in the west, and 3 tribes up north. And that's for another topic. But as I move on, then we have a different count for the Levites within there that's coming up in there as well in the early part of Numbers, which is carried over into almost where we talk about redemption and stuff like that of the firstborn and how much the firstborn should be redeemed for in the book of Bamidbar. So now I'm gonna focus on Nasso, and for those that might want to go back over Bamidbar, it's a lot of information that's there that I haven't begun to even touch on, but it's important because we know the Levites is counting different, and they also was counted by 5 times. But we know all the firstborn males of Israel was counted differently from the men of war 20 and upward. So we was counted several times too, the Israelites as a whole, because you had the men of war that's able to go to war for 20 years old and upward, and then you had the firstborn men of Israel, not counting the tribe of Levi, firstborn of the other tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim being split, making up for Levi being absent in that count. From a month old and upward. That means right then and there that this count was not an overnight thing. Most would say about 20 days to count. And what's interesting is that normally when you take a census, and if it's enough people there involved in the census that are being counted, that by the time you get to a few thousand, somebody would have dropped dead in the census. So you might have counted so-and-so, and the next day, by the time you get to the next person or next group of people, sometimes that day, sometimes, and the next day, somebody died. What is miraculous is that when they made the count of the census, both times, every time they made the count in the book, nobody died until, and while the census was being taken and brought in. Now that is a miraculous thing that we could be grateful for, that no one died while being counted. And it might have been 10 days since you was counted, and they're still counting. So that was a magnanimous job. We're gonna skip on to Nasso. Nasso opens up in the book of Numbers, the 4th chapter, 21st verse, going on to the 7th chapter and 89th verse. Now, the book of Nasso, which is counting and also numbering, but I'm not going to get into the difference of the word tree and Nasso. But we know that when we talk about this particular count in Nasso, that this also is one of the longest sidras out the whole Chumash, the book of Nasso, the sidra of Nasso. I have the longest out of all the sidros that we have within the book, and it has a lot of interesting points here. But I like to bring out maybe one point. It covers the counting, and then it has some unique thing in here, such as the trial of jealousy. So, and when it comes to Levites in the book of Nasso, and part of the Sidra of Nasso, you also have, and talking about their duties, talk about their duties and who's over what, and what their responsibilities are in the book of Nasso. That, and the 3 major clans of the Levites, which is the Kohathites, the Gorites, and the Merarites. So we have those 3 different classifications of Levites, besides the priests, which Aaron's group itself, who happen to be also out the Kohathite family. So, and each one had their particular jobs. We know the Kohathites dealt with the most precious things inside the sanctuary, such as like the Ark of the Covenant, carrying that when they had to transport the tabernacle. We know also, the shulchan, table showbread, shulchan rather, and the altar incense and other various utensils. We know that Gershonites, Gershonites carried the different like curtains and stuff like that, little few rods here and there, the extremities of the Mishkan, where the tabernacle. But we know that when it gets to the Merarites, they had the most hardest jobs. They couldn't really carry. They had wagons and everything going on. Both Gershon and Merari had wagons, but Merari had more wagons because he had much of a heavy load to carry than Gershon. And everyone was assigned a particular job. It wasn't haphazard. I do this today and then I'll switch up with you tomorrow. Everything was organized and assigned. So now, what I like to bring up also in that particular Sudra, Nasso, it talks about the trial of jealousy, Sota. And what's interesting is that in the 5th verse, the 5th chapter, excuse me, the 5th chapter, starting about 11th verse, the 11th verse. So in the 5th chapter, 11th verse of the book of Numbers, and it opens up like this here. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying to them, if any man's wife go aside and act unfaithfully against him, and a man lie with her carnally, and if he hid from his eyes, if he hid from the eyes of a husband, she being defiled secretly, and there be no witness against her, neither she be taken in the act, and the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be defiled, or if the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be not defiled, then shall the man bring his wife unto the priest, and shall bring her offering for her, the 10th part of an ephah, etc. All right. Now, what's interesting, I'm not going further than that because most people heard that, and it's pretty a sensitive topic, and just the only trial by ordeal within the whole Chumash, the whole Torah. All right, and the whole book, trial by ordeal. Are you guilty? Or are you not guilty? I don't know you're guilty. It mind you something, it kind of, when you think about, are you a witch or are you not a witch? Well, as she float, when you're throwing in the water with her hands tied and everything like that, and she float, or he float, whether you're a wizard or witch, every float, then we know that's a witch. But if they sink, then you're not a witch or not a wizard, but then you drown. So you do them on both sides. But here in the Torah, it gives say you might be guilty or you might be innocent. If you're guilty, the same process that you go through, whether you're guilty or innocent, you go through the exact same process, but one will be harmless and the other one will be if you're innocent, and the same process would be harmful if you was guilty. So, and it's based on a man's feeling. And I know today's society, they'll say, well, what about the woman feel a certain way? That's another topic for you to discuss with the various leaders, according to the book and according to the time, because I always say, either we're going to look at something from a Torah perspective, as it's given in scriptures, and accept that it's coming from God, or we say, oh, it's my interpretation. And I know most people say, a man wrote the book. And that's true. Man did write the book. But when we talk about the scriptures and the laws that was meant inspired by God, that was told to write, and the only thing written in the book, written by the creator, rather, not necessarily in the book, but written by the creator that we read about in the book, was those 2 tablets inscribed with the finger of God on it. That's all we read. Everything else, Moses was told to write. A different individual wrote certain things down. So that's, you could discuss further, with your various teachers in areas like that. All right. So now, what was remarkable was that if the woman is guilty, and I always bring out the sensitivity behind this here trial, because if she's innocent, then the husband, is satisfied. But is the woman satisfied that she had to go through that he suspected her as such? And this only existed where you could bring a trial out only if the temple was functioning. If the temple was not functioning, this could never be done. And then they say whether it's a witness or not. If it was witnesses, then it changes the dynamics. And according to rabbinic law, if it's just one witness, in that area, it would change slightly a dynamic where one witness, in this case, could make go through this process. So this is something to discuss further with your various teachers. I'm not saying that that's one only thing in the book with the trial, trial of jealousy or exoneration or condemnation by ordeal. Now, I look at the last portion of this particular thing about dealing with the Nazarite. Now, I'm not going to deal with the offerings of the princes, but I want to just focus on the law of the Nazarite, because that can be parcel with the Haftarah I'm going to speak on today, and I'm going to try to be brief on it. It says, and the Lord spoken to Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and saying to them, when either a man or a woman shall clearly utter a vow, the vow of a Nazarite to consecrate himself unto the Lord, he shall abstain from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drinks, neither shall he drink any liquors of grapes, nor eat fresh grapes or dry. All the days of a Nazarite shall he eat nothing that is made of the grapevine, from the pressed grapes even to the grape stone. All the days of his vow of Nazarite shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled, in which he consecrated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy. He shall let the locks of his hair, the locks of the hair of his head grow long. All the days that he has consecrated himself unto the Lord, he shall not come near to a dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother, for his brother or for his sister when they die, because his consecration unto God is upon his head. All the days of his Nazarite he is holy unto the Lord. That last part I wrote, he is holy unto the Lord. That's what's inscribed on the Kohen's metal gold piece that's tied around his turban. We call it a zitz. So holy to the Lord. So it's always a question, and always debates, which I always like people, they always talk with their teachers and stuff like that. As a Nazarite is a righteous person, a guy that takes a vow as a Nazarite, I should say it like this, that takes a vow as a Nazarite. Is he a pious person that want to be more pious, or he's a sinner that want to repent and say, I need to abstain from certain things? Because here it is that he takes more upon him than the Kohen Gadol. Because when you read further that the Kohen Gadol cannot defile himself for anybody. The mother or father, the regular priest can go for a father or mother or a sister that's near to him, but the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, cannot defile himself for anybody for the day. All the Kohens is allowed to drink and eat fruit of the vine. He's not. Also, all Kohens or priests are consecrated to God by birth, whereas the Kohen Gadol is the only one that's anointed later on. So now, here's this individual himself have something much more stringent, and then if somebody dropped dead outside, but not, but it doesn't touch the Kohen, whether it's a regular Kohen or the Kohen Gadol, he's not unclean. Where a Nazarite, if somebody dropped dead near that individual, the Nazarite become unclean. So you wonder, is he a good talisman, to put lack of a better word, or a bad talisman coming? Is he a good person that's trying to be better, or he's a person that want to repent? And mind you, when his days are fulfilled, then he had to bring a sin offering. He said a sin offering, it cost him little to become a Nazarite, but it cost him great to step out. So now, when you think about holy to God, now I don't want to be that holy to the Creator. So these are issues that you should discuss amongst the various congregations that you go to, because it says he's holy to God while he's doing that and going through that in that process, and it calls him separated to God from the very beginning of the vow and beginning of the process. Whereas when he said, my days is up, I got to bring a sin offering. What is the sin? The sin is that I don't want to be used by God that much. I need a little space. Just something to think about and talking with your various teachers. All right, so now, and we know the offerings of the princes and stuff like that, for the 12 days is given. So we know the order is a little different in the numbers. So now I'm going to go into the Haftarah portion for this particular portion. Oh, one more thing I'd like to speak on before I leave the Haftarah. We're talking about the priestly blessing. All right, so let me go to back to the numbers just a minute. 6th chapter. Let me see here. All right, 6th chapter, 22nd verse. I just want to read about the priestly blessing before I go to the Haftarah and speak on that in Nasso. All right, and 6th chapter, 22nd verse, and saying, the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise you shall bless the children of Israel. You shall say unto them, all right, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance unto thee and give thee peace. So shall my name be, so shall they put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Now in the Hebrew, it's respectively when Yehudah Adonai Mishurecha, and then most people will reply, and they don't tell you what to reply here in the book, but most people will reply, can you Rason? And if it's around Yom Kippur, they'll say Amen. If it's a real Kohen saying that. And then they'll say, the next portion is Adonai Panai Eleka, Adonai Panai Eleka Wikuneka. All right. And then it goes on Yisa Adonai Panai Eleka V'Yasem Leka Shalom. So start off with 3 words, 5 words, 7 words, and the last thing is peace. But what's noticed here is that the priest become the conduit, because in each one of those blessings it says God is doing this. So then why come up and say, and so shall they put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. We already know that God's blessing them from the very beginning, because it said the Lord is doing this, not me. The Lord is doing this, not me. The Lord is doing this, but not me. And then it goes on. The Creator said, I co-sign on that. To let you know, it's not the Kohen that's actually doing that. And each thing gives you something, from a material blessing to protection and safeguarding, and then also you can have peace, because some people get so wealthy. The more money a person make, the more money they want to make. You got billionaires competing with billionaires, and everybody wondering what's going to happen with their wealth. They have a peace of mind, but even then, they're talking about material wealth And then it talks about grace and kindness, favor in the Creator. So it goes from just being blessed with material wealth to even finding grace in the eyes of God, because said, I got this wealth justly, righteously. I didn't, step on anybody to get it. And I need some protection because I got to go to sleep. I don't know what kind of AT&T safeguard, whatever it is, people cyberspace and stealing money, all kind of ways. Do I have any peace when I sleep about? If I'm awake in the morning, like people did in 1929 with the Great Depression, and wake up and say, I'm bankrupt. So that is something to consider. So, and it's much more I can speak on about it, for the sake of time. There's a lot in reference to that particular blessing that could be elaborated. And, you notice the winding staircase in the temple is like 3 steps, 5 steps, 7 steps, respectively, in the temple that Solomon built. So those are some of the things I just bring out. So now we're going to go to the book of Judges. And the book of Judges, the 13th chapter, 2nd verse. You're going to go all the way to the 25th verse. And I know I've been a little bit long trying to cover up some things. So we're going to move as fast as I can through this particular portion.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We're in the book of Judges, chapter 13, verse 2. Hallelujah. And it reads, And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bore not. And the angel of Yehovah appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and hast not borne, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink no wine, no strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to save Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
Just hold it right there. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going further. Now, they tell you what tribe this guy's from, and tell you who the man name is. We don't know who the woman name is throughout this whole story. That's number one. All right, number two, the angel, appeared to the woman and then appeared to the man. Now, this is a first, because we read where, the boy had communications with, with the Creator, but we don't see it specifically how it's done. But here in the book of Judges, in the time of Judges, with this unnamed woman, Manoah's wife, that's how she just stated. She's in the company of an angel that appeared as a man. Now, we just read about the Sulta, which is a woman that's where she's suspected of being unfaithful. And it's talking about some intimacy here. Talking about she's going to have a child. Now, there's a lot of stories behind it, but I'm not going to go into it now. But I just want to bring some correlation between Nasso, the trial of jealousy, and also the Nazarite that follows right behind the trial of jealousy, that order. Because now you have a husband suspect a certain individual, and then is he the guy to say, look, I almost had my woman put on trial where it might have been a death thing. I feel bad about it. He never said what the woman's feelings is. And then he goes and at this particular point, and become a Nazarite. So there might be some correlation, we don't know, but just something to talk about, in your different studies. But anyway, a Nazarite is one, we read the laws of a Nazarite is one, a man or woman must vow to become that. So now, this individual angel, who's unnamed as well, gonna say, this guy gonna be a Nazarite involuntarily, when it's a voluntary thing, as we read about in the book of Numbers. All right, so now, let's go a little bit further.
We're in verse 6. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of the angel of God, very terrible. And I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said
Hold right
unto
there,
me,
hold it. Wait, that's important. All right. Say he look hard. Now, as a macho man, who gonna scare my woman? Who gonna scare my wife? They're gonna terrify my wife. Even when I argue, she don't get scared of me. She toughen up. You know. So naturally, as a man, you're gonna wonder what kind of person, and then it's seen her somewhere outside. And then and then she described him and said he's terrible, but yet he's a man of God. How could he be terrible and a man of God? What do you mean by terrible? And yet you say he's a man of God. What makes him the man of God? Because of what he said, and because of the child supposed to be a Nazarite, and that's supposed to be a position where you're gonna be holy to the Lord. And you talk about something concerning holiness. Now this is in the time of Judges, when everyone did what was right in their own eyesight. So there's a lot going on in the dialogue here. All right. So as we proceed, the 7th verse.
Verse 7 reads, But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb to the day of his death. Then
Nazarite usually have a time frame. You know, you usually vow to do that for a moment, but until his death. Now we know the Nazarite came and buried father or mother, and yet when you think about it, said to his death, is this child going to die before his parents? And so he'd be exonerated from that anxiety. And then what about the anxiety of the parents who lose a child early? So there's a lot of emotional things that's being displayed here in this one story that we could talk about. Psychological issues. And also, you got a man that's so terrible, you don't even ask him a name, but he's telling you about your personal life, your most intimate self. So we're going to pick it up from there.
Verse 8, it reads, Then Manoah entreated Yehovah and said, O Yehovah, I pray thee, let the man of God whom thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman, and she sat in the field, but Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman.
Manoah prayed to. He prayed to the Creator. He didn't pray to an angel, but some people, and even in some prayer books, say, send Michael, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel, and Gabriel, and all that stuff. Here's a man, he said, look, I ain't looking for no angel. I ain't looking for no stranger. I need to find out, you know what I mean? She said he's a man of God. Then if you sent him, I need to talk to God. I don't need to talk to the man of God first. I need to talk to God. Ask God to do something for me. And yet he appeared before her and never appeared before him at the beginning. All right. Now let's pick it up from the 10th verse, which is really an interesting story to go over with a fine-tooth comb, you know, with the various teachers.
Verse 10, it reads, And the woman made haste and ran and told her husband and said unto him, Behold, the man that appeared unto me, that came unto me that day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife and came to the man and said unto him, Art thou the man that spoketh unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, Now when thy word cometh to pass, what shall be the rule for the child, and what shall be done with him? And the angel of Yehovah said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the grapevine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe.
Now, when the angel appeared before the woman again, we find out that we don't see first time where it was at, but here it says in the field. We know according to our law that if a man grabs a woman and lies with her, that's betrothed for marriage, even married, but she's married in this case, a betrothed to another man, and the freedom given to her, and the man lied with her, according to our law, which we read later on, that individual man will be put to death. And the book gives the woman the benefit of the doubt and saying she cried out. So she's not worthy of being put to death. But if it was in the city, then they both would be put to death. So when we talk about the trial of jealousy, we got two things going on: the Nazarite situation and the suspicion situation. All right, the suspicion situation takes place just like the trial of jealousy comes in first, and then the Nazarite comes in later. And suspicion should be first before we even talk about this Nazarite stuff. You know, the dedication, and so it shows that she was greatly a spiritual woman, and where the angel appeared before her. Where also one of the most interesting things when I was talking to some different people about it is just that when the men appeared before Abraham in the CHOKMAH YAH, and we find out that they told that Abraham's wife will have a child, Sarah heard, and she made the statement that, you know, the man and woman has ceased to be upon her, and will she have pleasure with her husband, being he's old also. So now, not only she's saying, I went through a change of life, but she's saying, we haven't been, being all lovey-dovey for a while. He haven't been coming around like he's still into that mood with me. So there's two things here. I done made a change in my life, and he ain't been lovey-dovey with me lately. So there must be something going on with it that he ain't been lovey-dovey with me. So this action here, that you can see why it took place in the field and brought out when you discuss it even more, because now you talk about something that had to be no miraculous conception, no immaculate conception. That's the word, I think. Immaculate conception.
Immaculate, right?
That this is going to be something that had to be done, through the natural order of things. And so, and you talk about they're going to be a boy. You ain't even saying they're going to be a female. Now we know the woman that goes through the trial of jealousy, if she's innocent, she's guaranteed to have a son, not a girl. She's guaranteed to have a son. So let's go a little bit further and pick it up from the 15th.
Verse 15 reads, And Manoah said unto the angel of Yehovah, I pray thee, let us detain thee, that we may make ready a kid for thee. And the angel of Yehovah said unto Manoah, Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt make ready a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto Yehovah. And for Manoah knew not that he was the angel of Yehovah. And Manoah said unto the angel of Yehovah, What is thy name, that when thy words come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of Yehovah said unto him, Wherefore askest thou after my name, seeing it is hidden? So Manoah took the kid with the meal offering. So Manoah took the kid with the meal offering and offered it upon the rock unto Yehovah. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. And it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of Yehovah ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife looked on, and they fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of Yehovah did no more appear to Manoah or to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was the angel of Yehovah. And Manoah said unto his wife, We shall surely die, because we have seen God. But his wife said unto him, If Yehovah were pleased to kill us, he will not have received a burnt offering and a meal offering out of our hand, neither will he have shown us all these things, nor would at this time have told such things as these. And the woman bore a son.
All right. He thought it was God. Let's show you his spiritual level was on a lower level.
Right.
But he entreated to find to God. But now you see how you flip flop. Remember, this is the time of Judges. Her spiritual she was on a higher spiritual level by recognizing and saying, look, all right, you know, that this is an offering. All right. And if God wasn't pleased, he wouldn't did all this stuff. So she recognized the goodness of God. And sometimes we can't recognize the goodness of God. And she recognized the goodness of God while he's terrified. Those are some of the things that should be discussed more when we go over the story. The last two verses.
Verse 24. Goodness gracious, man. Verse 24 reads, and the woman bore a son and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and Yehudah blessed him. And the spirit of Yehudah began to move him in Manakedan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Hallelujah.
Leave with in reference to this particular story of Shimshon and about the Nazarite. You know, now Shimshon was ordained as a Nazarite from the womb, but he was a unique type of Nazarite because being around dead bodies wouldn't defile him, you know, and so he didn't follow the normal criteria of the Nazarite that we read about in the book of Numbers. We never read where he, I don't think, if I'm correct, where he even drank any kind of alcoholic beverages or anything like that. So, but we had another similar guy that was born, was promised to be a Nazarite, and that's Shemuel. So when we look at Shemuel, the prayer of Hannah, she said that she's going to dedicate him to the Creator and no razor should go upon his head. So he said, well, should a parent say, I'm going to live my life through my children? But yet a parent's supposed to always direct their children's path in life. So there's a difference when you work on directing your children's path in life as opposed to say, I'm going to live my life through my children. So when she made that prayer in the book of Samuel, saying that a razor should not come on his head, you know, and I'm going to give him to the Lord all the days of his life. Now, we know that Shemuel was never took a vow of a Nazarite, so therefore he was clear. But she made that vow concerning him, looking for the best. So sometimes as a parent, we try to look for the best for our children, you know what I mean? So we got to, you know when to say, okay, this is the path you need to take, as opposed to say, I'm gonna hook you up and drag you through this path. So I hope you got some of what I said, and any mistakes been my own, and I say, Shalom Aleichem, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Nasik, for your words of wisdom. And I pray that the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, continue to be with you and guide you. And to everyone out there online, we thank you all for being patient with us. We will try to, ride this whole thing out and not leave such a big gap in between our lessons. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
Hallelujah.